Record date, 17th cycle, 8th rotation, year 3429. The final testimony of Senior Weapons Engineer Vorax Tun. I pause, my three primary appendages hovering over the recording device. The bitter taste of failure coats my sensory nodes. How does one explain the extinction of an entire military research division? The High Council will want answers, but the truth sounds like the ravings of a deranged mind. The experiment was not supposed to end this way, I continue, my voice crackling with strain. Project Humotional was projected to have a 98.7% success rate. Our simulations were flawless. Our understanding of human psychology was, well, apparently not as comprehensive as we believed. The wound on my lower thorax pulses with pain. The medical nanites can only do so much, and I refused stasis. Someone needs to tell this story. Someone needs to warn the others. Let me start from the beginning. The galactic hegemony had encountered many species in its 12,000-year expansion. Some joined willingly, some required persuasion, and others needed to be conquered for their own good. Humans, however, presented a unique problem. They were primitives by our standards. Their technology was laughable. They hadn't even unified their own planet, let alone reached beyond their solar system without our intervention. But they possessed something that made them dangerous: unpredictability. Our first diplomatic envoy to Earth ended with 3 dead ambassadors and a trade ship stolen. The second attempt resulted in a peace treaty that the humans violated within 6 lunar cycles. The third approach was military, and we lost an entire battlecruiser to what appeared to be farming equipment repurposed as weapons. The humans are resourceful, Admiral Quex told our research team. But more concerning, they are emotional. Their decision-making defies logical algorithms. We need an edge. That's when Project Humotional was born. If human emotions made them unpredictable, then we would turn those emotions against them. A targeted bioweapon that would amplify a specific emotion to debilitating levels. Elegant, efficient, and supposedly harmless in the long term. Find the most exploitable emotion, ordered Quex, something that will neutralize their resistance without permanent damage. The High Council wants their planet intact. Our team of 12 top researchers spent months studying human psychology. We monitored their entertainment broadcasts, literature databases, and social communication networks. Humans were obsessed with documenting their feelings. It made our job almost too easy. Pax, our behavioral analyst, wanted to weaponize fear. Their fight-or-flight response is primitive but effective, she argued. If we amplify fear, they will turn on each other. Zendu, the neurochemist, lobbied for grief. Humans become non-functional when processing loss. Their productivity drops to near zero. But it was Lask, our newest and most ambitious team member, who proposed the emotion that would ultimately doom us all. Laughter, he said during our final selection meeting. The room fell silent. Even the ventilation system seemed to pause. Explain, I demanded. Lask brought up a series of human brain scans on the main display. Humans use laughter as a social bonding mechanism, but also as a response to incongruity or surprise. When they laugh uncontrollably, they lose physical coordination. Their respiratory systems become compromised. They describe it as being helpless with laughter or laughing until it hurts. So we make them giggle until they surrender? Pax asked skeptically. No, Lask's eye membranes fluttered with excitement. We push it beyond that. Sustained, uncontrollable laughter would render their military forces useless. No casualties, no destruction. Just temporary incapacitation while we establish control. Admiral Quex loved the idea. The High Council approved the funding. Project Humotional officially targeted human laughter response centers, and I was named senior engineer. The laboratory work proceeded rapidly. We developed an airborne pathogen that would bind to human brain receptors associated with humor response. The effect would last approximately 72 hours, enough time to secure major population centers. This is brilliant, Quex said during the final briefing. The humans value their sense of humor. Using it against them has a certain, what do they call it? Irony? Nanny. What about us? Asked Zendu. Are we immune? Lask waved a dismissive appendage. Our neurochemistry is completely different. The pathogen is specifically designed for human brain structure. It would have no more effect on us than water vapor. How confidently wrong he was. The test phase required live human subjects. We selected a small, isolated community in a region humans call Montana. Population, 342. Remote enough for containment, but large enough for meaningful data collection. Our delivery system was simple. A modified weather drone disguised as a human aircraft would disperse the pathogen at high altitude, allowing it to settle over the town during night hours. We would monitor from a cloaked observation vessel. Engineering team ready? I asked over the communication link. Ready, Senior Engineer Tun, responded Lask from the lab. Medical team standing by confirmed Pax. Observation drones deployed, reported Zendu. Admiral Quex supervised personally from the command center. This is a historic moment, he announced. The first step toward peaceful integration of humanity into the hegemony. The drone released its payload at precisely midnight local time. We watched through thermal imaging as the pathogen cloud descended upon the sleeping town. By dawn, we expected to see the first effects. What we witnessed exceeded our most optimistic projections. At 0623 local time, the first humans emerged from their dwellings. A male retrieving what appeared to be information packets from a storage container. He paused, shoulders shaking. Our audio sensors picked up the first sounds of laughter. By 07000, the entire community was affected. Humans staggered through streets, clutching their midsections, faces contorted in what our database identified as hysterical laughter. Some collapsed on their lawns. Others leaned against vehicles or buildings for support. Perfect, breathed Quex. Completely incapacitated. Heart rates elevated, but within safe parameters, reported Pax. Respiratory distress present, but non-life-threatening. Permission to collect a subject for closer observation? Asked Lask. Quex considered this. Granted. Select an isolated specimen. The retrieval team chose a human female who had wandered away from the main settlement. She was approximately 30 Earth years old, doubled over with laughter near a vegetation area. The tractor beam transported her directly to our containment laboratory. That's when everything changed. I was the first to enter the observation chamber. The human was restrained on an examination platform, still convulsing with laughter. Her eyes locked with mine, and suddenly her laughter shifted. It became louder, more intense. Vitals spiking warned Pax through my communication implant. Unusual brain activity in the frontal cortex. Is the pathogen concentration too high? I asked, approaching cautiously. The human spoke between gasps of laughter. You guys look like walking blenders with googly eyes. This made her laugh even harder. I did not understand the reference, but something about her statement triggered an unusual sensation in my neural pathways. Senior Engineer, your vital signs are fluctuating, Pax said sharply. Step back from the subject. But I couldn't move. A strange pressure was building in my respiratory chamber. My primary speech orifice began to spasm. And then, against all biological possibility, I laughed. Not the formal acknowledgement of humor that our species occasionally employs in social settings. This was uncontrolled, physiological, and alarmingly powerful. My exoskeleton vibrated with it. Containment breach. Biological contamination. Pax shouted into the general alert system. Quarantine protocols activated. Through the observation window, I saw Lask rush toward the laboratory. His expression changed from concern to confusion when he saw me convulsing with laughter beside the human subject. Impossible, he said, voice barely audible through the barrier. Our neurochemistry is incompatible with the pathogen. The human female looked at Lask and began a new round of hysterics. It's a giant talking asparagus with a bow tie. She wheezed. Ask's eye stalks went rigid. His mandibles twitched once, twice, then he too erupted in uncontrolled laughter. Alarm klaxons blared throughout the vessel. Quarantine barriers slammed into place, but it was already too late. The ventilation system had circulated air from the laboratory throughout the ship. One by one, crew members succumbed. Admiral Quex was the last to fall. I watched on the monitor as he entered the command center, demanding updates. The bridge crew was already incapacitated, draped over consoles or writhing on the floor in paroxysms of hilarity. "What is the meaning of this?" Quex boomed. Then he saw the human on the main screen, still restrained but somehow looking triumphant despite her own laughter. "Your head looks like a traffic cone, with angry eyebrows," she managed between gasps. Quex's prestigious military career ended with him clutching a navigation panel, body convulsing with laughter so violent it cracked his ceremonial armor. Within 3 hours, the entire research vessel was incapacitated. No one could operate controls. No one could send distress signals. We were adrift in Earth orbit, a ship of fools. By the second day, the first deaths occurred. Older crew members whose bodies couldn't sustain the physical stress of continuous laughter. Systems began failing as maintenance procedures went unperformed. The human subject remained alive, though her laughter had turned to occasional giggles punctuated by exhausted gasping. "What did you do to us?" I asked her during a brief moment of relative clarity. "Nothing you didn't do to yourselves," she replied, surprisingly lucid despite her condition. "Your mistake was thinking laughter is just an emotion. It's not. It's contagious." On the third day, as the pathogen began to weaken, we made a horrifying discovery. The laughter had triggered physiological changes in our nervous systems. Something about the human's perception of us as funny-looking had permanently altered our brain chemistry. Even as the pathogen dissipated, random interactions among crew members would trigger fresh outbursts. Lask theorized that the pathogen had mutated when exposed to our biology, creating a permanent bridge between human humor perception and our own neural networks. We had become biochemically attuned to human comedy, a deadly side effect none of our simulations had predicted. The recovery team from Central Command found us 7 days later. By then, 38 crew members had died either from physiological stress or from accidents caused by incapacitation. The human had been returned to her community, which had largely recovered once the pathogen ran its course. Our research data was classified at the highest level. Project Humotional was officially terminated. The High Council issued a directive: no further attempts to weaponize human emotions would be permitted. But it was too late for us survivors. We remained contaminated, quarantined, too dangerous to return to society. The final assessment, I tell the recording device, fighting another wave of inappropriate laughter, is that humans are not merely affected by their emotions. They are weaponized by them naturally. Their unpredictability is not a weakness, but an evolutionary advantage we failed to comprehend. A warning light flashes on my console. The quarantine station's perimeter has been breached. Through the security feed, I see figures in environmental suits approaching. Not our people. The suits are crude, obviously human-made. They found us. Somehow they tracked our research facility. The lead human removes their helmet as they approach my door. A female. The same female from Montana. She smiles and I feel the laughter building again in my chest. "We need to talk about your invasion plans," he says calmly. "And about a little thing humans call comedy." I reach for the alarm, but my appendage is already shaking with the first tremors of uncontrollable mirth. The last thing I record before they breach my chamber is this warning: do not attempt to use human emotions as weapons. They have been perfecting them as both shield and sword for thousands of years. We never stood a chance. Emergency recording continuation. This was Senior Weapons Engineer Vorax Tun. My voice trembles, not entirely from the laughter this time. Ear has its own distinctive vibration. The human female stands before me, flanked by 4 others in environmental suits. Their expressions range from curiosity to what my species recognition software identifies as barely contained amusement. "You can call me Amelia," the female says, taking a casual seat on my examination table. "Though your people had me labeled as Montana Subject Alpha in your files." I struggle to maintain composure. "How did you find this facility?" "It's shielded against all known human detection technologies." Amelia taps the side of her nose, a puzzling gesture. "You guys might be advanced, but you leak radiation like a broken glow stick. Plus, your cloaking tech doesn't work so well when half your maintenance crew is literally dying of laughter." One of her companions snorts, triggering a brief spasm of giggles in my thoracic cavity. I suppress it with medication. The suppressants won't last long, but they give me moments of clarity. "What do you want?" I ask, straightening my posture to project authority I no longer possess. "Information," she replies, suddenly serious. "Your people have been abducting humans for decades, experimenting on us, plotting invasion strategies. We want to know everything. And if I refuse?" Her smile returns, sharp as a precision-cutting tool. "Then my friend Jasper here will tell you his favorite jokes. He does stand-up comedy on weekends." The tallest human steps forward, removing his helmet to reveal facial hair arranged in a pattern around his mouth. "What did the alien say to the human weapon designer?" he asks. I feel my medication failing, the pressure building in my speech chambers. "Don't answer," I warn him. "I am a high-ranking official of the Galactic hegemony. You have no authority to take me to your laughter." Jasper delivers the punchline with exaggerated emphasis. My body betrays me instantly. The laughter bursts forth, painful and uncontrollable. I collapse against my console, appendages flailing. "Stop!" I gasp between convulsions. "I will tell you everything." Amelia signals Jasper to back away. "Start with Project Humotional. What was your actual goal?" As my spasms subside, I realize I have nothing left to lose. My career is over. My species has abandoned me and my fellow researchers to this quarantine hell. Perhaps the truth is the only valuable currency I have left. The hegemony has conquered 16 galaxies over 12 millennia, I explain. Earth was meant to be a simple acquisition. Your resources are modest but useful. Your strategic position allows access to 3 neighboring star systems we have had difficulty approaching. And you thought making us laugh would help you take our planet? Amelia asks, genuine confusion in her voice. Your species relies on hierarchical military structures, I reply. Discipline. Chain of command. Our simulations showed that uncontrollable laughter would disrupt these systems completely. But why not just blast us from orbit? You obviously have the technology. I wave a dismissive appendage. Wasteful, inefficient. Destroyed infrastructure requires rebuilding. Dead populations can't be taxed or utilized for labor. The hegemony prefers intact acquisitions. Amelia exchanges glances with her team. The expression they share is unreadable to me. What about the other emotions you considered weaponizing? She asks. You all rejected for similar reasons. Fear would have triggered your nuclear defense systems. Grief would have created generations of resistance. Rage would have united your fractured nations against a common enemy. But laughter seemed harmless, she concludes. Precisely. Temporary incapacitation followed by confusion and embarrassment, your military leaders would have lost credibility. Negotiations would have favored us enormously. Jasper steps forward again. But you didn't count on it affecting you guys too. The memory triggers another small tremor of laughter that I fight to control. A significant oversight, I admit. Here's what I don't understand, says a female human with darker skin and curly head fibers. She consults a data tablet. According to your own research, your species has no analogous response to humor. How did the pathogen affect you at all? This question has haunted our research team since the incident. Lask developed a theory before his respiratory system failed under the strain of constant laughter. We believe the pathogen mutated upon contact with the human subject, I explain. Something in your biochemistry altered its structure, creating a variant that could bridge the neurological gap between our species. Like a translator, suggests another human. This one with facial features suggesting advanced age. More like an infection, I correct. The pathogen rewired our neural pathways to recognize and respond to human concepts of humor, concepts our brains were never evolved to process. Amelia nods thoughtfully. So when I called Admiral What's-His-Face a traffic cone with angry eyebrows, his brain suddenly understood what humor was. For the first time in his evolutionary history, I finish. The shock to his system was catastrophic and permanent, adds the older human, studying me with clinical interest. You are still affected, even though the original pathogen should have broken down days ago. I gesture toward the medical equipment attached to my exoskeleton. It created lasting changes in our brain chemistry. 53 of my colleagues have died. The rest of us are quarantined here indefinitely. Amelia walks to the observation window overlooking the main research floor. Below, 24 of my species lie in medical pods, their bodies periodically convulsing with laughter despite heavy sedation. All this because you wanted to use our emotions against us, she says quietly. The hegemony has always viewed emotions as evolutionary weaknesses, I reply. Primitive responses that more advanced species outgrow. And now? Now. My mandibles click in what my species uses as an expression of irony. Now we understand that we were, what's your expression? Playing with fire. Jasper joins Amelia at the window. So what happens now? Your bosses just leave you all here to die laughing while they come up with a new plan to invade Earth? For the first time, I feel something beyond the artificial humor response. Something that might be genuine amusement. There will be no new invasion plan, I tell them. The High Council has declared Earth a prohibited zone. Your planet has been classified as a Level 9 biohazard. The humans exchange glances again, this time with clear expressions of surprise. You are saying we scared off an advanced galactic civilization with dad jokes? Jasper asks incredulously. Not exactly, I clarify. The threat of biological contamination scared them. The possibility that whatever mutated in our pathogen could spread to the broader hegemony population was deemed an unacceptable risk. The dark-skinned female consults her tablet again. But according to these research notes, the effect requires direct contact with humans. It's not transmissible between your own kind. My upper appendage makes a gesture equivalent to a human shrug. The High Council is not known for nuanced risk assessment when it comes to potential pandemics. They prefer quarantine and isolation. So Earth is safe because your leaders are germaphobes, Amelia concludes. For now, I acknowledge. But the hegemony has a long memory and vast resources. In a century or two, they may reconsider. Amelia turns from the window to face me directly. Unless we give them a reason to stay away permanently. Something in her tone triggers my threat assessment protocols. What do you mean? She motions to the older human, who retrieves a small container from his environmental suit. Inside is a vial of clear liquid. We have spent the past week analyzing the original pathogen from our town, Amelia explains. Your delivery system was effective, but your containment protocols were sloppy. We found residue everywhere. My sensory appendages quiver with alarm. And you synthesized it. Better, says the dark-skinned researcher, looking up from her tablet. We improved it. Jasper takes the vial, tossing it casually from hand to hand. My eyes follow it with growing horror. Stop that. Do you have any idea how dangerous that substance is? I protest. Actually, we do, Amelia says. Unlike your team, we tested it properly. The original version only created a bridge for humor recognition. Our version transmits the full spectrum of human emotional responses. The implications hit me like a gravitational collapse. That would be. Revolutionary, she completes my thought. Imagine your species suddenly experiencing not just laughter but empathy. compassion, love, grief. The full human emotional package. It would destroy us, I whisper. Or evolve you, counters the older researcher. Your species abandoned emotion as a weakness, but what if it's actually a strength? What if the ability to feel deeply is what makes humans so adaptable, so unpredictable, so resilient? The hegemony would never allow it, I insist. They would quarantine entire systems, destroy planets if necessary to prevent contamination. Amelia smiles, and for the first time I see something beyond amusement in her expression, something calculating. That's exactly what we are counting on, she says. Understanding dawns on me with terrible clarity. You are going to threaten the hegemony with emotional contagion. Not threaten, Jasper corrects. Negotiate. Emotional, mutually assured destruction. The dark-skinned researcher elaborates. We have prepared delivery systems capable of reaching your core worlds. If the hegemony ever moves against Earth again, we release the full emotional spectrum pathogen. You would never reach our worlds, I argue. Our defensive systems were designed by the same engineers who thought humans couldn't possibly affect your biology. Amelia interrupts. How confident are you in those defenses now? My limbs feel suddenly weak. The laughter that has plagued me seems distant compared to this new sensation, dread. The High Council would destroy themselves before accepting such terms, I warn. Maybe acknowledges Amelia. But we are betting they will choose a third option, leaving us alone. Permanently. And what about us? I gesture to my afflicted colleagues below. The forgotten casualties of your biological warfare? Amelia's expression shifts to something I haven't seen on a human face before. My species recognition software struggles to identify it, finally settling on compassion. That's actually why we are here, she says. We have developed a counteragent, something that can reset your neural pathways to their original state. Hope surges through my system so strongly it almost triggers another laughter response. You can cure us? We can, confirms the older researcher. But we need something in exchange. Of course, I reply bitterly. What do you want? Weapons technology? Star charts? Access codes? Amelia shakes her head. Knowledge. Cultural exchange. Diplomatic relations. We want an ambassador who understands both sides. You want me to betray the hegemony, I state flatly. We want you to build a bridge, she corrects. Your people fear what they don't understand about humans. That fear led them to try weaponizing our emotions instead of learning from them. And you think I can change thousands of years of hegemony doctrine? Jasper grins. We think someone who's experienced human emotion firsthand might have unique perspective. The dark-skinned researcher approaches, holding out her tablet. On it plays footage of Admiral Quex addressing the High Council before our mission. His rigid posture, his clipped tones, his absolute certainty in hegemony superiority. Your leaders don't understand us because they have never felt what we feel, she says softly. You have. Even if it was just one emotion, you have experienced something they never will. I watch the footage with new eyes. See the emptiness in Quex's presentation. The cold calculation. The absence of empathy that led him to approve a biological weapon without considering all variables. The counteragent, I ask hesitantly. Will it remove all the changes? Will I forget what it felt like? Amelia studies me with surprising perception. You don't want to forget, do you? The question catches me unprepared. Do I want to forget? The laughter has been torture, yes. But in brief moments between medication doses, I have felt alive, connected to something larger than myself, than the hegemony. The counteragent neutralizes the pathogen and prevents further neural degradation, explains the older researcher. But the pathways already formed will remain. You will retain the ability to recognize humor, but without the uncontrollable physical response. You'd be the first of your kind, Jasper adds. A hegemony citizen who gets human jokes. And in exchange, I become your what? Spy? Double agent, cultural translator, Amelia says firmly. We need someone who can explain humans to the hegemony in terms they will understand. Someone who can convince them that leaving Earth alone isn't just about avoiding biological contamination, but about respecting a species that might have something valuable to teach them. I look down at my fellow researchers, still trapped in their endless cycle of laughter. And my colleagues? All will receive the counteragent, promises the older human. Those who wish to return to the hegemony can do so. Those curious about human culture would be welcome as additional diplomatic contacts. The choice seems obvious. Continued suffering versus recovery. Abandonment versus purpose. Yet something holds me back. Why would you help us? I ask. After what we tried to do to your world, Amelia's response surprises me. Because empathy, understanding, and sharing the feelings of others is the emotion your people should have tried to weaponize. It's the one that actually makes humans dangerous. Dangerous how? It makes us care about beings different from ourselves, she explains. Even ones that tried to invade our planet using biological weapons. The concept is so foreign to hegemony thinking that I struggle to process it. Care for an enemy? Empathy for a failed conqueror? Your species has conquered 16 galaxies through force and fear, Amelia continues. Imagine what might have been possible through understanding and cooperation instead. For the first time since the pathogen changed me, I feel something entirely new. Not laughter, not fear, but curiosity. Genuine interest in these bizarre creatures who would help those who tried to harm them. I accept your proposal, I tell them, straightening to my full height. I will be your cultural translator. Amelia smiles and offers her hand, a human gesture of agreement I recognize from our research. I extend my primary appendage cautiously. First lesson in human culture, she says as our limbs meet in what humans call a handshake. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the one that destroys your enemy, but the one that turns them into a friend. As the humans prepare the counteragent for my colleagues, I make one final entry in my record. Concluding assessment. Project Emotional failed because we fundamentally misunderstood the nature of human emotions. We saw them as weaknesses to exploit. We never considered they might be strengths we lack. The weaponization of human laughter backfired because we failed to recognize a simple truth. Emotions are not weapons or vulnerabilities. They are tools for connection. The dark-skinned researcher approaches with the counteragent. Before she administers it, I ask one last question. After I'm cured, will you teach me about the other emotions? The ones we never understood? Amelia nods. All of them. Joy, sorrow, anger, fear, disgust, surprise, trust, anticipation. The whole human spectrum. And will they change me too? Like the laughter did? She considers this thoughtfully, almost certainly. But unlike the laughter, you will be choosing the change. That's another very human thing, the power to choose who and what you become. As the counteragent enters my system, I feel the constant pressure of impending laughter begin to fade. In its place, something unexpected blooms, something the hegemony never planned for in any of their conquest strategies. Hope. Perhaps the greatest human emotion of all.